Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is precisely 5:30 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This meeting is officially open with a quorum present. This evening, students from Versia Williams Elementary School will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. In just a moment, Principal Angela Wright will introduce them, but first, let's stand for both pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now repeat the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Good evening, President Jackson, members of the board, Dr. Scribner. It is indeed an honor for us to be here tonight. I'd like to introduce some of my wonderful students. I have Angel Guerrero and his little brother, Sergio. Angel is my student council president. We also have London Locke here. She is a student council member, as well as Xochitl Roja and Evelyn Castañan, and they're also first graders at Versia Williams Elementary School. We have with them their parents, father and mother of London. You can go back to your say hello. We've got the parents, father and mother of Evelyn here with her sister, who's also a recent member of our Versia Williams family. We've got mom here with the gentleman, Sergio and Angel, as well as Xochitl's mom, and we thank you for coming this afternoon. We bring greetings to you from the Mighty Eagle faculty and staff of Versia Williams from the Carter Riverside Pyramid. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Clint Bond from the Communications Department will begin our recognitions.
President Jackson, members of the board, Dr. Scribner, we have a first tonight. We have a greeter. It's a very busy night at Eastern Hills High School with senior night and fundraisers for softball, baseball, and soccer. So Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Gina Pedraza from the Highlander Battalion is our only greeter, and she did a wonderful job handing out agendas. And she's a senior, and she plans to go to TCC and study nursing. And she's accompanied by Sergeant Major Erica Jones. So let's thank them again. If you were fortunate to be here prior to the start of the meeting this evening, then you enjoyed the sounds of the Paschal Panther Corps, which was selected to perform at the Texas Music Educators Association Conference. As I continue this introduction, there will be a representative who comes forward to make a presentation to Trustee Luebanos. This is Choir Super Bowl, a coveted and competitive invitation that puts choral groups and their directors on the map. The recognition garnered by these performances leads to national and international invitations. Also in concert and serving as clinic performers at the Texas Music Educators Association were the Northside Mariachi Espuelas de Plata and the J.P. Elder Middle School Mariachi. March is Music in Our Schools Month. Music education is integral to the core training of every child. The decoding and organizational process of music symbols goes hand in hand with Fort Worth ISD's reading goal. The Fort Worth ISD Visual and Performing Arts is in a resurgence of securing the best music educators to ensure optimum experiences for every child. These enriching experiences build confidence in helping students find power in their own abilities, which infuses every other subject. The Paschal Panther Corps directors are Nathan Benavides and Traylyn Nipper. The principal at Paschal is Troy Langston, and the director of choral and elementary music is Dinah Menger, and the executive director of visual and performing arts is Christina Walk. So let's thank them for being here this evening. Our parent recognition for this evening comes to us from Sunrise McMillan Elementary School. Mrs. Tanya Sloan Nevels. Would you please stand? Mrs. Sloan Nevels is an active parent volunteer and PTO president at Sunrise McMillan. She also is the proud grandparent of 4 Sunrise students. Mrs. Sloan Nevels has provided immeasurable support and hundreds of volunteer hours to the school since 2014. On most days, you can find her coordinating fundraisers to support teachers and students, supporting teachers in the classroom by going on field trips, making copies, organizing materials, preparing for family night events, and judging competitions. Assisting with a host of programs, including but not limited to Fall Festival, Muffins for Moms, Donuts for Dad, Career Day, Read Across America, and a number of parent engagement activities. When asked to sum up what Ms. Sloan means to the staff and students, Principal Latress Cole said she's always willing to spring into action, even with just a moment's notice, to assist and support the staff and students. It is an honor to present Ms. Tanya Sloan Nevels with a certificate of appreciation for family engagement.
Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, President Jackson. I know that it's not under the recognitions category, but we've got some pretty significant events coming up in the next several days. So beginning with Saturday, we're going to have our 2nd annual Racial and Ethnic Equity Summit at VPA STEM IM Terrell, and I think that in and of itself is really, really significant, that the conversation and the dialogue will take place at that location. More information is on the Fort Worth ISD website. And the second one is Monday, the Cesar Chavez Dolores Huerta, first ever for us, and not only Fort Worth ISD, but we still believe in the country that we're honoring both hero and the shero that they are. That will be Monday at TCC Trinity Campus, and I believe Ms. Huerta will be here to speak at 10 a.m. So that there's also more information on that on the website. But Communications did a tremendous job of putting together a video so that folks that don't have any idea who she and he were can get a lesson from 4th graders from Dolores Huerta Elementary.
Hey, y'all know why this is important? Why? Because Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez were some of the greatest people in our country.
They did a very good job for helping farmers.
How you summarize it is they gave people stuff that they needed.
Yeah, and also the march was like the boycott because they stopped buying the grapes from the farmers.
Because a lot of people in her days didn't go to college, a lot of girls didn't, and she was one of them that went to college.
Do y'all know something that Dolores Huerta always said?
Si se puede!
Always remind yourself that.
Do I have a motion?
Last year, the Fort Worth ISD Board of Education voted to set aside a class holiday each year
To honor the lives and legacies of Cesar E. Chavez and Dolores E. Huerta,
who devoted their lives to winning civil rights for farm workers and others across the country. It's not so much a day off for students, but a day for them to be of service to their community, their neighborhood, or just helping out at home. The students at Fort Worth ISD's Dolores Huerta Elementary School know all about these 2 real-life heroes, and they want to make sure others know about them too.
In New Mexico, there lived a little girl named Dolores who talked so fast. Her grandfather said, "Dolores, you must have 7 tongues."
7 tongues? I would talk so fast. Many miles away in Arizona, there lived a little boy named Cesar, who was a very good listener. Cesar listened to his mother cry when his family lost its home and they had to become migrant farmers.
When Dolores was a little girl, she moved to California with her mother and brothers. She joined the Girl Scouts and worked to raise money for soldiers fighting in World War II.
Cesar's family moved to California to follow the crops and work in the fields. Although he had to drop out of school to work, Cesar always had a book under his arm.
That meant that he loved to read. Dolores grew up and became a teacher. She saw the farm worker children come to school too hungry to learn as well as they could. When Cesar grew up, he and his friends were hurt by dangerous tools that mean bosses who sprayed the plants with poisons that made the farm workers sick.
Were, and then luckily for us, Dolores Huertas confirmed through our community collaborations and contacts that she, Lord willing, will be here Sunday to speak to the young people on Monday at TCC Trinity. So a lot of people will get to, a lot of folks that I've been around have been asking, who are they? What were they about? Why are we celebrating this? And I even seen some social media traction saying it's a waiver day. Did know that there was a connection to that. We know that it's year one, but from this day moving forward, I think a lot of students in our community and people in our community will, one, know who they are, what they stood for, but then also will make it a good tradition in Fort Worth Independent School District. Thank you, President Jackson.
Thank you very much, Trustee Ramos. At this time, we will take a very short recess.
Anel would like to speak.
Trustee Luevanos.
Before we go on break, thank you, President Jackson. I want to thank the Pasco Choir for performing at tonight's meeting. They did an excellent job in San Antonio last month. I want to thank the principal, the directors, and the parents who are here today that raised the money to attend this trip. This trip was paid with their own money, with their own funds. So thank you for doing that. And you did an excellent job in San Antonio, and you did an excellent job today. So thank you.
Trustee Moss.
Thank you, President Jackson. I want to say thank you to all of the students that's here this evening, and a special thank you to Sunrise Macmillan Elementary volunteer. She has been there for a number of years, Ms. Nevels, with 4 children at Sunrise. Thank you for being there all of this time, and I've seen you and I know what you can do. It's very seldom that we have a PTA with the numbers, parents that we have there. So again, thank you, and thank you to your principal, Ms. Cole and Ms. Tanya. Thank you for being here.
Now, I see no other names on the board. Does anybody else have any announcements? Okay, we'll take a very short 3-minute break. At this time, we'll continue with number 4 on our agenda, reports and presentations, instructional planning and development update. Dr. Scribner, are you ready to give this presentation?
I am. And thank you very much. We'll make sure all the trustees get a copy of the presentation. Thank you very much, President Jackson, members of the board, and the Fort Worth school community. It was several months ago, actually in November, when I presented our annual State of the School Report, which was entitled Our Next Chapter. Well, we are now about halfway through that second chapter, and we're facing a changing landscape, an environment that has changed significantly and is filled with challenges that our district simply has not seen previously. But these challenges are also opportunities, and with the new and unprecedented competition that exists now with large urban ISDs across Texas and the nation, we in Fort Worth ISD, as you know, the board approved our response to that, a partnership with TEA, Texas Educational Agency, which is our system of great schools work. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But tonight, I'd like to present a report on our team's instructional planning and development. In 2016, we determined that that instruction would drive construction. There was a lot of talk with regard to the pending 2017 bond, and we made some decisions, I think, historically that, in my opinion, could have been different had we framed it with instruction driving construction. In fact, Trustee Ramos now chairs the Long Range Facilities Master Plan. That focuses in conjunction with our mission to prepare all students for success in college, career, and community leadership. It's a community-inspired vision for learning that has its guiding principles. It actually resulted in the development of our learning model. And you remember that our learning model focuses on challenging students, allowing them to research and create knowledge, communicate that knowledge, and then reflect and grow and repeat that cycle. A good plan can only happen with guiding principles, and this facilities committee is driven by the following guiding principles. Again, instruction drives construction. We need to do this through an equity lens, and there is nothing more important than the safety and security of our students. We must be prudent and we must be responsible with our financial stewardship, and we need to do so in a sustainable way so we can continue our upward trajectory academically as we're starting to turn the corner and our accountability measures are heading in the right direction. And we can't do this in isolation. We have to do this with engaged community. And you'll remember, as part of that process, we identified $1.6 billion of facility needs. The board and the community approved our $750 million bond. Again, $1.6 billion in needs, and we're able to chip away at that. And you'll remember that this bond, the 2017 bond, is focused primarily on creating next generation ready high schools. So it's a high school focus. We are not alone in this challenging landscape. Challenges face large districts across Texas and really across the nation. Austin, Dallas, El Paso ISDs all, unfortunately, have been closing schools and cutting jobs. We're fortunate here in Fort Worth that we're not taking a reactive approach, but rather a proactive approach. And I want to talk more about that tonight so that we can be poised for the future and not have to react in a passive way. This is not only a Fort Worth problem, but we believe that together, working with our internal community and our external community, we can realize a Fort Worth solution. Let's look at enrollment. We have grown over the past several years. We're currently experiencing a dip, and we expect to grow again. Now, we can fix this problem very easily simply by right-sizing and doing what other districts have done and shutting down schools and cutting jobs. And we certainly want to, unfortunately, may have to look at some of that, but I think if we're proactive, we can minimize that. What I'm suggesting is we begin a process where we look at reconfiguring our school district. Now that, right-sizing really is kind of easy, just some tough decisions. Reconfiguring is hard work and requires commitment, but if this board continues to maintain its focus, its vision, what we talked about 3 years ago when I was interviewed for this job, we talked about the values of excellence, of equity, of efficiency, and of choice. Those are the 4 values that drive our work, and for me personally, what I believe is the most are the most essential values in public education. We continue that, we certainly can move this in the right direction. Now, we talk about competition. The charter movement is here. The charter movement is not going anywhere. It will remain in Fort Worth, and if we are to become the premier urban district in America, in Texas and America, we must create one system of great schools where any student in any corner of Fort Worth ISD has choice. That choice may be a Fort Worth ISD school. That choice may be a district charter hybrid. That's why we're so proud of our district charter hybrid partnership with Texas Wesleyan University. Senate Bill 1882 provides the same funding to district schools as it does to charter schools. And I believe if we are able to level the playing field and compete on a level playing field where our per pupil funding is at the same level as the higher charter level, then we can actually out-charter the charters. We have certified teachers, we have the infrastructure, and I believe we have the will to do the right thing and educate all students, not just some, all students. So let's take a look at the facilities master plan, this phase 2 that I'm proposing. In the 2017 bond, as I said, is mainly about high schools. This focus moving forward would touch on middle schools and elementary schools. We want to stay in front of the changes that are facing our district as we implement this phase. But it cannot be done in isolation. It must be a comprehensive approach. We must look at instructional planning and development. We must look at strategic real estate plan. We have 18 properties that are non-instructional properties. We want to make sure that they are achieving their highest and best use. And we must take a look at efficiency. Next month, the board will be presented with a report from our efficiency experts who've come to Fort Worth and are reviewing our work. And by efficiency, we don't mean squeezing the organization. We mean delivering the highest quality education to all students while optimizing the use of scarce resources. And resources may be money, but resources are also people and also time. We want to make sure that we're efficient with the use of our people, time, and money. So how are we currently aligned? Well, one of the first steps, I think we need to take a look at our alignment pattern. Did you know that there are 25 different splits across Fort Worth ISD? Where students in elementary, some go to one middle school, then they return to the high school. While we are rich in diversity in Fort Worth ISD, we also need to be rich in opportunity and have high performing programs in every corner of the city. We need great options in every neighborhood. But we also, I think, would benefit from cohesive cohorts that are logically organized, instruction driving construction. We need to align our programs, practices, procedures, and that, I believe, will put us on a pace to attack the opportunity gap that exists in our city. Why is alignment important? I just would like to reiterate. We're talking about continuity. That would allow us to look at trend data. It would allow us, when cohorts stay together at higher rates, we're able to do more predictive work and anticipate future needs. It'll allow us to plan better for instructional programs, but also student support. We've talked a lot about culture and climate and the importance of restorative discipline, restorative justice. We want to make sure that we're providing student support academically, but also student support in terms of social and emotional support. And I believe building school spirit and building pyramid community is a good thing. Last week, I was at the Texas Urban Council. As you know, I serve on the legislative subcommittee, and we were in Austin. And I spoke with the leaders of Dallas and Houston and Austin, and actually all of the Big 8 school districts were there. And each one of them sees a dip between 5th and 6th grade. It is not a Fort Worth issue, it is a issue across large urban districts. And while most of our enrollment decline has taken place in the elementary years, many of the charters serve elementary students, we do recognize that one of the biggest areas where we see a dip in enrollment is between 5th and 6th grade. Many of these students are moving to 6th grade centers, many of these students are moving to middle schools, but many of these students are selecting out of our district. So Dr. Sims and I spoke one time just a few weeks ago. I said, tell me about our middle school phenomenon and our 6th grade centers. You know, what was the origin of that? And I discovered that it was a facilities, it was an overcrowding issue that resulted in the creation of 6th grade centers. With our demographic shift and our enrollment change, overcrowding is less of a problem today. In some areas it is. But also in some areas we haven't looked at our attendance boundaries in quite a while. So what I would like the board to consider is a move of 6th graders back to the elementary. I'm not talking about that tomorrow. I'm not talking about doing that next month. I'm not talking about doing that next year. What I'm talking about is let's consider and let's take a big picture approach and have a logical, a reasonable runway to discuss and plan so that we can implement this in an organized and thoughtful way, if the board chooses to do this. I believe it would improve student outcomes. I believe it would align instructional programming, address the enrollment decline that we've seen. As you'll remember, large dip in between 5th and 6th grade. And I think it'll be a competitive response to some of our competitions that exist. And from an from an efficiency perspective, we certainly want to have some schools. We want to stop the practice of having some schools being woefully overcrowded and other schools being underutilized. So the second phase of our facilities master plan, again, will not simply talk about aligning feeders, which we've done. Will not simply talk about the consideration of moving 6th graders back to elementary. But it's also about doubling down on what works. And we think that we know what works when we look at our student achievement data, but there's another definition of what works. It's what our students and families are choosing. So we want to take a look at 4 specific areas to consider. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next August. We want to do this in an organized and thoughtful way. First, let's take a look at Montessori and applied learning. I attended a parent meeting, a very, very positive and energetic parent meeting about a year or so ago, in which parents said, we want a K-12 pipeline. We want to do something different for our students in Montessori and applied learning as they move on to secondary. I believe by creating a K-12 pipeline, we will increase seats in our existing programs, create a dedicated secondary school program. This, I also believe, would eliminate wait lists. We have some schools that have great wait lists and other schools that are underpopulated. I believe if we do this in a thoughtful way, we can improve quality and diversity in our Montessori and applied learning programs. With regard to alternative schools, with regard to alternative school programming, I would ask that the board do the same, have the same consideration that they did with regard to our leadership academies, and consider an 1882 partnership with experience, with an organization or a partner who has experience, who has expertise, who has a proven track record of success to better meet the needs of students at middle level and metro opportunity high school. We have a great opportunity, again, to receive additional funding in the 1882 scenario and partner with individuals or individual organizations or perhaps even a higher education institution with experience in this area. Early childhood center partnerships. 1882 can help us there too. And remember, we get an additional almost $1,800 per student in the 1882 scenario. With this possibility, looking at early childhood partnerships, could repurpose facilities, perhaps even buildings that used to be used as 6th grade centers or middle schools. And they could become early childhood centers. And we all know that there is no better return on investment than investing in high quality preschools, particularly for students who are not starting the educational race at the educational starting line. K-8 academies, this is the direct response to the competition that we face, again, at the elementary level. I received a report from TEA just the other day that indicated over 9,000 students live in Fort Worth ISD but select other schools that are not Fort Worth ISD schools. 9,000 students. We've looked at data from our family focus groups, and they tell us that K-8 students and parents choose specific schools that are in Fort Worth but not in Fort Worth ISD because those schools have elementary specializations in STEM, in Spanish and other world languages, in visual and performing arts. So if we know what parents and students are seeking and choosing, I again believe we can out-charter the charters and provide our parents with a great option. Maybe even partner with some of those charters. We want to make sure that all students have an opportunity and are participating in a system of great schools. So with better feeder pattern alignment, in addition to looking at our programs of choice and schools of choice, we could provide also programs at all 14 comprehensive high schools. If we have clean pathways, if we have an opportunity for the high schools and the middle schools and the elementary schools to be all in the same pyramid, then we can create a level of equity and excellence, creating early college high school opportunities across the city, more than we have today. Fine arts at every comprehensive high school, 14 comprehensive high schools. Public service and leadership programs, business management and marketing, engineering and education. And in our effort to look for teachers who are bilingual, we know that almost half of our students come from homes where English is not the primary language. 4,000 of our students speak any one of over 50 languages from in Europe and from Africa and from Asia and all over the world. We know that 39,000 of our students come from homes where Spanish is the primary language. We believe it's an opportunity for us to have bilingualism and biliteracy for all 86,000 of our students. 11 programs we've identified of our programs of choice, they're under-enrolled or underperforming. We recommend that we absorb those programs into the umbrella category called a discipline, where we can look at animal science, the veterinarian track, advanced media production, the great program that we have at Southwest High School and other places, culinary, cosmetology, the medical professions. You can read down the list. All of those are great options. I would like to discuss the absorption of those 11 initial programs with the principals tomorrow and Thursday. Next Tuesday, exactly a week from tonight, we'll be talking in our budget workshop about making sure that we're offering great programs and we're not duplicating efforts and we're not investing in programs that are not up to standard. So these are big decisions that we have to make, and we've gone some time without making some big decisions. Take a look at this. Fort Worth ISD has grown almost 10,000 students since 2000. In the last 2 decades, though, we have not looked at a significant boundary change. So if we're going to have feeder alignment cannot happen without looking at boundary adjustment. I know that's not popular, and we're not going to do it tomorrow. We're not going to do it next month. We're not going to do it next school year. But we have to start that process today, again, so we have an organized and thoughtful rollout. And I believe that now is the time for us to take on these very important issues because instruction must drive construction, must drive our organization. While we're encouraged by the conversations happening in Austin with this legislative session, we will still need to find local investment to sustain our success. And the board may be asked to consider in 2020 a TRE, a 2021 bond to finish the work at the middle schools and the elementaries, and so that we can continue to invest in our Fort Worth community, our students, our teachers, and our facilities. So finally, we know that organizations, as I said earlier, there has to be a comprehensive approach with instruction and in our real estate and our efficiency, and in order to prepare all students for success in college, career, and community leadership. We know that organizations are perfectly designed to get the results that they're getting. If we don't want to change the results, then let's not change the design. But I would ask the question, do we want our schools to continue to recreate our society as it already exists? Or do we want to create a society as it should be? And I think this board, with its commitment to excellence and equity and efficiency of choice, I think moving forward, we have a great opportunity to create opportunity and prosperity and success for all students in Fort Worth ISD. And I'm very encouraged about the success that the team has initially begun. It's incremental but moving in the right direction. I'm very encouraged by the support that we're getting out there in the community. I'm very encouraged about the future of the board leadership moving forward. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Scribner. Trustee Needham?
Thank you, President Jackson. Dr. Scribner, that's a lot to absorb, but it isn't going to happen tomorrow or next month. I'm sorry I won't be here to help carry it on, but I'll be watching. Two questions that just came to mind. The page that says 10 gold seal disciplines, are those the ones that are under populated that are going to be absorbed, or are those just some programs?
So I think I passed it. So our idea is to organize the multitude, over 20-some that we're looking at right now, and organize those into categories. So just like at a university where you can major in different kinds of sciences, that's all in the science department. So what we want to do is take all of our smaller programs, identify which ones we want to double down and improve. We talked about doing fewer things better. So the conversation was, if we're serving 20,000 students in 20 programs, we could go for example, if we were to cut that in half to 10, that doesn't mean we're going to serve fewer students. We could serve 40,000 if we had multiple locations. So what we're talking about here in this slide is offering those opportunities at every large comprehensive high school, in addition to these programs at selected areas and collapsing existing programs underneath these umbrella.
Are all of these underpopulated that are listed?
No, not at all. These, if you can think about these as majors, these are majors.
Okay.
These are ideas, and within these, there'll be some that are underpopulated that may sunset, and there are others that we'll need to double up on. And I think at the end of the day, at least in this first round, we'll be able to shrink that number by 11 and probably serve more students.
Probably.
Because it's I think we're doing a disservice to students by providing them a program that doesn't align with what the industry needs are. We need to look at industry and backwards map and build what will prepare them for success in college, career, and community leadership.
My other question is, I'm sure your group has looked at, is there room in most of the elementary schools to absorb the sixth grade?
We don't know those details yet, but we certainly, that's why we want to do this over a period of time. We think with 2 or 3 trains moving down parallel tracks, creating early childhood centers, perhaps they could be regional, and bring kindergarten, pre-K, and maybe even kindergarten to an early childhood center where we could really focus on literacy and getting the basics established. That would create space also. And obviously we'll be bringing these to the board over the next probably 18 months and talk about implementing them. And it could be phased in some parts and not others.
Then even in the next bond issue, you could build early childhood centers
Perhaps,
or something.
or repurpose existing buildings that are seeing declining enrollment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's my question. Great report.
Thank you.
Trustee Needham, Trustee Ramos?
Dr. Scribner, I'll say I like it, and especially the conversation of boundaries and alignment, pyramids, makes all the sense in the world to me from the initial presentation. My only question is, if it's not next month, if it's not next year, what are you kind of looking at? What's your time frame? What are you and your team talking about?
Thank you. So we're, the 1920 school year is upon us. We're already talking about those plans. I think the earliest we could make some of these moves probably would be 2021, so a year and 4 or 5 months out. But we need to start that planning immediately and do it in a strategic way. We cover 202 square miles, so perhaps this wouldn't be district-wide. Perhaps it would be in different regions simultaneously, and kind of phase it in and make sure it's working. Right.
Thank you, Trustee Ramos. Trustee Sutherland?
I just want to say, I think in general, the idea of merging the 6th grades is a good idea. There are some schools that are pretty big already, and I don't know how you're going to work that out, but given that caveat, I think it's going to be a lot simpler than having the kids march all over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sutherland. Thank you very much for the report. It's great. I think 2 things that would be nice is to see cost savings and see how we're going to have extra dollars to shift to other programs and to programs that have been operating at a deficit. All right, thank you so much. At this time, we'll hear public comment. Let me remind you that because of restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal exchange about a subject that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes, but the board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with 1, a statement of factual information given in response to the inquiry, 2, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or 3, direct the person to visit with staff about the issue. While the board listens to concerns of a general nature and issues of common and individual concern, the board will not hear complaints about specific individual employees or public officers during the public comment session. Speakers shall refrain from mentioning names of individual employees or public officers during their comments. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. In accordance with board policy BED local, speakers shall have a 3-minute time limit, and we ask that you please observe this rule. Mr. Cleveland Harris and Mr. Norman Quigley. Cleveland's first.
Good afternoon. I'm here today to speak on something that's been 4 years ago that is still continue going on. And it's, since we're talking about language, that's good. Because a lot of the issues that's going on in District 3 is still going on, partly because we have a high rate of Somalians in the school district that still cannot speak English. Now, I'm tired of this. Where is our money? Because we have students in the district that cannot even speak English because they need somebody to translate the language. Now, this is old. This is very old, and it's getting too old. It doesn't make sense. You want the schools to come up, then give them the necessary tools to do the work. The Catholic Church does not have anything to do with Fort Worth ISD. They are too busy trying to convert the Somalians into their belief. That's a bunch of... I'm just tired of what's going on. We don't have time for that. If we're going to help these students to become where they need to be at, as the students that achieve the goals that we push forth, then we might as well take diversity out of our mouth, because this is not diversity. You have Hispanic brothers and sisters that are getting ESL money. We're not getting the ESL money in our district. So where is that money at? Somebody's getting it. Our students are not, they need to know what English it means, and they need to start from pre-K. That's why I said if we're going to teach Spanish, we need to start at elementary, all the way through 12. Don't shorten these students, and then you'll see a change in the education. I am a team player. You can blame it on Coach Dean Stacy because I played up under him. I don't believe in shackle and jiving. And if I fall on my butt, Dean Stacy will tell you, get off your anus. So I'm that kind of person. I'm not coming in here and I'm not going to play. Where is our money? Our schools are the worst schools in the district. I do not believe in charter, no, because I got sense to know that that money is going to leave. The programs that we need in our school district, we won't see it from lower schools. So I got sense to know that that money is not going to be there. But it's going to be that we're going to have to create our own programs because we won't have the money to have a sufficient education. And I'm ready for that. I've brought many things to the table. I'm holding the keys to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Norman Quigley.
Good afternoon, school board members, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for an opportunity to be able to come before you, Madam President, Dr. Scribner. Dr. Scribner, you sure make it hard on a gentleman like me to come up and speak behind you, you and Mr. Harris. Just kind of want to bring some awareness about the subcontracting of the cafeteria workers. Some things that I really think that we need to look at and really we need to consider. First off, all right, first of all, I think we need to look at the RFP real well. I hope that everybody take a look at it so that you can exactly see what's in it, because really what you think is in it, it's not in there. Okay, I'll bring out a couple of highlights here in a few seconds. First of all, we will be replacing 3 board members this year. So I think it's only fair for the people who started this to bring a vote on it. As you know, we're running out of time, okay? We'll swear the school board members in May, okay? This is April. We'll swear the members in May. They'll take seat in June, okay? Now, what I'm asking you is to do, not vote on it tomorrow, not next year, not next week, but next month. If we can bring it back to the board so we can vote on the RFP, so that way the people that'll be replacing the 3 people that'll come off, they won't be put in the line of fire with whatever changes are made. So I know that so that we don't make a quick decision, let's look at it. Everybody take a good look at what's in here and all this, the language, because like I said, what you think is in here is not in here. For an example, on page 25, on page 25 of the RFP, okay? RFP, page 25. I don't know if y'all have it right there. Okay, what it says, it gives the contractor the right to hire and fire the employer, okay? The other language says that if you are an employer of the school district, you will continue to be an employee of the district. Okay, so I'm an employee of the district now, but you're gonna subcontract me for them to manage me, but yet they can hire and fire me. Well, they can fire me or terminate me, but yet I work for the district. What guidelines, what rules do I follow? If they need me to go way across town and I can't drive, do they write me up? Do they terminate me? So I'm allowing an outside company to terminate me when I'm working for the district. They'll be receiving Social Security, but yet school employees receive TRS. Will the current employees receive Social Security as well? So there's a lot of things that we need to look at. It's okay to say, hey, we made a great start. Let's look at it. Let's reconsider next year. We have enough information. I think as of right now today, there's 4 contractors has turned in their bids. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley.
Thank you.
We'll now recess and reconvene in the board conference room. We got enough. I got 4. Yeah. Southern, you ready? You ready? In accordance with open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 p.m. As much as I love you, Jerry Moore, we are trying to get out of here the fastest ever in the whole world, according to Ms. Needham. In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present. Recessed open session in the boardroom and is now reconvened at 6:28 p.m. in open session in the board conference room with the quorum present. As board president, I'm making the following statement in accordance with board policy BBFA local. This is a reminder to all board members of the legal conflict of interest requirements and disclosure requirements you may have for matters under consideration on the agenda for this meeting. If required by law, board members shall recuse themselves from all discussion and shall abstain from voting on any matter pertaining to such a disclosure. Are there any questions on the consent agenda from any of the trustees? Yes, Dr. Sutherland.
I think I want to take this one item off the agenda, but at least let's talk about it. We have had some very serious problems with the heat at least South Hills a lot, and at Southwest some also. It's very cold in there. It's been going on for years, and I sent Dr. Scribner an email saying, would you please get on top of this? And by cold, I mean 51, okay? The amelioration that they produce, last year I posted it on my Facebook page, was a heater, a space heater was about this big for the whole auditorium. I mean, it is not respectable. And so CFO Shiro is kind enough to, I'm speaking about J, item J.
Thank you.
Which is $750,000 for taking it out of the instruction budget. I suppose you could take it out of the instruction budget because we had $30 million extra last year. But the problem I have is that nobody's doing anything about this heat, and it's been going on for years. Now, if you would just say, fine, I'm going to amend this, and we're going to take care of that heat, you know, I'd be happy to vote for it. I don't particularly feel like making a big fuss, but I am not going to vote for anything. It's not taking it out of the instruction budget. It's the fact that you are dealing with things that, I mean, like sidewalk repair. These kids are cold. They're not just a little cold, they're really cold. And nobody's doing anything about it, and it's not as if I haven't complained. Every single time I get a phone call, I complain. I haven't complained to you except most recently, but we're not getting anywhere. So could we at least have an answer to what's going on and when this is going to be fixed?
Yes, definitely. I know we've had a number of problems. I will get you an answer.
Sure.
Sorry. Yes, we have had a number of problems, and let me get you a full report.
No, I want it before this vote comes up.
Okay.
Because I only asked for this morning. I knew CFO Shiro would know because she's got $734,398.20. You don't come up with that out of the sky. So I knew that she knew, but there's actually $1.5 million that you want to fix, and you're not doing anything with the heat. I mean, it's just unconscionable to make these kids go to school year after year after year in a place that's really cold. I'm not talking about you have to put a coat on. I'm talking about you can't write because your hands are too cold. So what are you going to do?
I do know we've replaced the boilers and we've replaced the chillers. I apologize, Ms. Shiro just told me right now, or I would have had a report, but I can't get you one by the morning.
I want to know what the report's going to say.
Well, it should say that.
I'm sorry, but I'm not paying
items are
until I
addressed.
see the numbers. Okay? So what, can we put this off till, you know what, next Tuesday we have a board workshop.
do.
Okay? I mean, I don't mind putting it off a week. I don't want to put, I want to give you a chance. But I didn't know until tonight that this wasn't on it. And I don't know how much, it must cost a lot of money to do the heating at South Hills. What? It's item J. It's $750,000. The whole budget is twice that, but apparently you have bond funds for some of that. So, I mean, I don't, so what, this is like, what guarantee do I have that you're going to address this problem? That's what I want to know. If you told me that you are going to send me a memo tomorrow, and or us, pardon me, I know there's 9 of us, and that it's going to say that we are going to fix these things at such and such a time, and it will be complete, and the heat will be okay, and it will be done, I'll make up a number, by next Christmas. Okay? And that's fine. I did ask him. I've told him, I only have picked on him the last couple of times. Before that, I went through Art. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't consider it picking on me, Dr. Sutherland. I think we have a couple issues here. We have the present-day maintenance and repairs. Elsie can speak to the financial implications, and I know as part of the 2017 bond, there is significant investment in the area of $30 million probably at South Hills High School. More than 30?
Yes.
Yeah, but the question is, when is it, it's like, if you recall, Brown versus Board of Education, I mean, she practically graduated from college before they got the schools integrated. These kids so I'm not getting any answer from you. You're just saying, I'll call you in the morning.
I can provide an answer. You will not receive a report before the vote tonight. You asked that earlier. Will you receive a report before voting tonight? And the answer to that is no.
Okay. No, you said no.
I said I don't see it possible for Art to run back to his office and write a report and bring it back to you between now and the time to vote. But I did hear him say you can have it in the morning.
How do I mean, he's not making any commitment at all. Basically, this is just pie in the sky sometime down the road.
I think he just said that.
No, I don't. He's talking about the report. He's not talking about agreeing to fix the heating.
I
want the heating fixed.
Okay.
The heating will be fixed. If it's not fixed, it will be fixed tomorrow morning.
Okay.
The heating. Yes.
Well, permanent. I'm talking about permanent, not just these
Okay,
little.
let me make a statement, because this is not on the agenda, and
That's
I don't
right.
know
It
how
is
far
on
I
the
can get
agenda.
into this.
Here's what I'd like to make a statement.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
We're going to get a report to you tomorrow morning, and if you'd like, we can pull this off of consent and we can vote on it separately as an action item, but we need to move the meeting on. So we can either pull it off, and then that solves that issue, and then you get the report in the morning, and then you'll know.
I want to know before I vote.
Well,
all right, I'll vote no then.
Yeah, sure. You can vote no. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sutherland. That's where I was trying to get us to. Ms. Needham?
Never mind.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? I have one question. We, B4, 8B4, approved replacement of chiller at I.M. Terrell Academy for STEM and VPA. We just refurbished the entire campus except, is this the part that we didn't refurbish? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make sure we didn't have like a year-old chiller and something terrible happened. That's awesome. Thank you. That was good news. Okay. No other questions. This concludes our discussion of agenda items.
I belong here.
There's a place all parents want for their young child,
Sophia.
where learning happens in leaps and bounds in literacy, math, and social skills, where teachers are state certified and super suited to provide structure, encouragement, and a nurturing, safe space for every child.
And that place is Fort Worth ISD, pre-K and kindergarten. Your child belongs here.
Hey, y'all know why this is important?
Why?
Because Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez were some of the greatest people in our country.
They did a very good job for helping farmers.
How you summarize it is they gave people stuff that they needed.
Yeah, and also the march was like the boycott because they stopped buying the grapes from the farmers.
Because a lot of people in her days didn't go to college, a lot of girls didn't, and she was one of them that went to college.
Do y'all know something that Dolores Huerta always said?
Sí se puede.
Always remind yourself that.
Do I have a motion?
Last year, the Fort Worth ISD Board of Education voted to set aside a class holiday each year
To honor the lives and legacies of Cesar E. Chavez and Dolores C. Huerta,
who devoted their lives to winning civil rights for farm workers and others across the country. It's not so much a day off for students, but a day for them to be of service to their community, their neighborhood, or just helping out at home. The students at Fort Worth ISD's Dolores Huerta Elementary School know all about these two real-life heroes, and they want to make sure others know about them too.
In New Mexico, there lived a little girl named Dolores who talked so fast. Her grandfather said, Dolores, you must have 7 tongues.
7 tongues? I would talk so fast. Many miles away in Arizona, there lived a little boy named Cesar, who was a very good listener. Cesar listened to his mother cry when his family lost its home and they had to become migrant farmers.
When Dolores was a little girl, she moved to California with her mother and brothers. She joined the Girl Scouts and worked to raise money for soldiers fighting in World War II.
Cesar's family moved to California to follow the crops and work in the fields. Although he had to drop out of school to work, Cesar always had a book under his arm.
That meant that he loved to read. Dolores grew up and became a teacher. She saw the farm worker children come to school too hungry to learn as well as they could. When Cesar grew up, he and his friends were hurt by dangerous tools that mean bosses who sprayed the plants with poisons that made the farm workers sick. Then Dolores and Cesar met and decided to work side by side. They invited farm workers to join the cause for justice. Cesar led men, women, and children on a 340-mile march to demand the workers to get paid enough to live on.
Dolores gave an amazing speech, and the growers signed a contract with the workers, giving them better pay for their hard work. It was time for the farm workers to share in their harvest.
Though they each had a large family, little food, and no money, they always looked for ways to make the world a better place. If you don't help the farm workers, Cesar asked Dolores, who will?
When their bosses bullied them, the workers used to say, "We can't do it." With the help of Dolores, they began to chant, "Si se puede, we can do it."
For 30 years, Dolores and Cesar worked and listened and talked and marched side by side. Dolores and Cesar had many victories because they knew that together all things were possible.
In 1993, Cesar passed away and Dolores and the farm workers marched to honor him.
Dolores still works and marches for justice for the poor, and she is not alone. The spirit of Cesar Chavez is by her side.
Si se puede!
We can all accomplish so much more when we work side by side. So remember that as we serve and celebrate on Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta Day.
How should we celebrate it?
Have a piñata, that's a good way. No, let's just put Si se puede on the cake.
Yeah, we can make it a 3-layer cake.
I think that would be a great idea.
We can ask Mr. Brown if we can borrow his truck. He can be driving it, and then we can put like a banner on the doors that says, Si se puede! Raise your hand if you want the truck thing. We can recreate some of the moments. We can
raise your hand if you want us to get.
Yay! Come on, guys, let's go to class.
Good job.
Good job. Oh, I have another idea.
People in our country. They did a very good job for helping farmers. How you summarize it is they gave people stuff that they needed.
Yeah, and also the march was like the boycott because they stopped buying the grapes from the farmers.
Because a lot of people in her days didn't go to college, a lot of girls didn't, and she was one of them that went to college.
Do y'all know something that Dolores Huerta always said?
Sí se puede.
Always remind yourself that.
Last year, the Fort Worth ISD Board of Education voted to set aside a class holiday each year
To honor the lives and legacies of Cesar E. Chavez and Dolores C. Huerta,
who devoted their lives to winning civil rights for farm workers and others across the country. It's not so much a day off for students, but a day for them to be of service to their community, their neighborhood, or just helping out at home. The students at Fort Worth ISD's Dolores Huerta Elementary School know all about these two real-life heroes, and they want to make sure others know about them too.
In New Mexico, there lived a little girl named Dolores who talked so fast. Her grandfather said, "Dolores, you must have 7 tongues."
7 tongues? I would talk so fast. Many miles away in Arizona, there lived a little boy named Cesar, who was a very good listener. Cesar listened to his mother cry when his family lost its home and they had to become migrant farmers.
When Dolores was a little girl, she moved to California with her mother and brothers. She joined the Girl Scouts and worked to raise money for soldiers fighting in World War II.
Cesar's family moved to California to follow the crops and work in the fields. Although he had to drop out of school to work, Cesar always had a book under his arm.
That meant that he loved to read. Dolores grew up and became a teacher. She saw the farm worker children come to school too hungry to learn as well as they could. When Cesar grew up, he and his friends were hurt by dangerous tools that mean bosses who sprayed the plants with poisons that made the farm workers sick. Then Dolores and Cesar met and decided to work side by side. They invited farm workers to join the cause for justice. Cesar led men, women, and children on a 340-mile march to demand the workers to get paid enough to live on.
Dolores gave an amazing speech, and the growers signed a contract with the workers, giving them better pay for their hard work. It was time for the farm workers to share in their harvest.
Though they each had a large family, little food, and no money, they always looked for ways to make the world a better place. If you don't help the farm workers, Cesar asked Dolores, who will? When their bosses bullied them, the workers used to say, "We can't do it." With the help of Dolores, they began to chant, "Si se puede, we can do it."
For 30 years, Dolores and Cesar worked and listened and talked and marched side by side. Dolores and Cesar had many victories because they knew that together all things were possible.
In 1993, Cesar passed away, and Dolores and the farm workers marched to honor him.
Dolores still works and marches for justice for the poor, and she is not alone. The spirit of Cesar Chavez is by her side.
Si se puede!
We can all accomplish so much more when we work side by side. So remember that as we serve and celebrate on Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta Day.
How should we celebrate? celebrate it. Have a piñata, that's a good way.
No, let's just put si se puede on the cake.
We can make it a 3-layer cake. I think that would be a great idea. We can ask Mr. Brown if we can borrow his truck. He can be driving it, and then we can put like a banner on the doors that says, Si se puede! Raise your hand if you want the truck thing. We can recreate some of the moments. We can
Raise your hand if you want us to get that.
Yay! Come on guys, let's go to class.
Good job.
Good job. Oh, I have another idea.
This is Fort Worth, the way we see it every day. But let's take the 1,000-foot view, and you'll see that this is also Fort Worth ISD. Our 148 campuses, schools in every neighborhood, are preparing students for success in college and for tomorrow's workforce. So, no matter who you are, what you do, where you live, you belong here. Fort Worth ISD is a good place to be for a lot of good reasons. But don't just take our word for it. The Texas Education Agency says our most recent academic gains are among the best. The TEA named us one of 2 top districts in Texas in year-to-year positive growth in academic achievement. Our gains were across the board, including substantial increases in the percentage of students reading on grade level. And we've cut the number of campuses rated improvement required in half. Among those moving up to meeting the standard were 5 schools that were reconstituted as leadership academies. After investing time, top talent, and money at the campuses, including a $1 million gift from the Rainwater Charitable Trust, the accountability gains at all 5 campuses were in double digits. There's also our nationally recognized commitment to equity.
And I'm
The
calling
Fort
this
Worth
meeting
ISD Board of Education received the 2018 CUBE Award for Urban School Excellence from the Council of Urban Boards of Education, where educational equity is one of the core measures. Then there's our scholarship dollars. The class of 2018 earned a record-setting $102.6 million in merit scholarships and grant offers. That's up from $36 million just 3 years ago. At the front end of the education journey, our 4,000 littlest learners are getting a great start in Fort Worth ISD pre-K. How are you? And their parents got to register them online instead of in-line, as our district moved to an all-online registration process. There's also this space right here, our new I Am Terrell Academy for STEM and VPA. From day one, this campus was buzzing with creative energy in labs, an incredible makerspace, and on the visual and performing arts side, in studios, practice rooms, and a world-class performance hall. And talk about engaging. The Cowan Humanities Academy at I Am Terrell makes us all want to go back to school. What does he say there? As construction on I Am Terrell was wrapping up, a new capital improvement program was already in high gear. Thanks to you, the voters, our record-setting 2017 bond is transforming learning spaces district-wide. The Fort Worth community is also all in for elementary literacy with Read Fort Worth, which is doing an outstanding job of aligning its partners, resources, and strategies to support our district's 100 by 25 literacy initiative to get all third graders reading on grade level by the year 2025. Led by Mayor Price and Matt Rose, it's a perfect example of collective impact for bigger and quicker results, especially where they're needed most. As we've said before, we can't do it without you. You belong here.
In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 PM in this boardroom with a quorum present. We recessed and reconvened open session in the board conference room. We adjourned regular session, convened executive session, adjourned executive session, and now reconvened open session at 7:34 PM in the boardroom with a quorum present. We're moving to accept our consent agenda, which is item 12 on the agenda, devoid of one item. Dr. Sutherland has requested that we remove item 8J, which is approval of the budget amendment for the period ended February 28th, 2019. So at this time, we have Dr. Sims has moved and Trustee Moss has seconded the consent agenda. Seeing and hearing no discussion, we will move to voting. And the motion passes for the consent agenda unanimously. Moving on to our one action item, item 13, 8J, that's been removed from the consent agenda, approval of budget amendment for the period ended February 28th, 2019. Dr. Sutherland?
I think you have to put a motion up first.
Well, we've read the motion, and I'm waiting for her, so.
Yeah, I'm going to oppose against this budget amendment because it does not include attention to a longstanding need at South Hills High School especially, but also Southwest High School for correction of the inferior heating. I've mentioned this for a number of years and nothing has been done, and so I'm voting against it in protest. I urge my colleagues to join me.
Okay, our screens are not up, so Ms. Daniels, would you like us to vote by hand? I don't believe we can. Can we?
There needs to be a motion and a second.
We've read a motion. We've read the motion. We need a motion and a second. Then we need to vote by hand unless the screen can update. Yeah.
Second.
Moved by trustee Paz, seconded by trustee Moss. All in favor, please raise your hand.
I would like to abstain on that one.
Dr. Sims will be abstaining. Please add that to the record. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Trustee Luebanos? Okay. Okay, 6 yeas. Any nays?
Yes,
2 nays. The nays would be Sutherland and Luebanos. At this time, we'll move on to comments by board members or our superintendent on current district activities and announcements. There is no action item. The action item was the one that you created by pulling item J. So we're moving on to comments. Any comments? Seeing and hearing none, we're adjourned.